Rev up your engines! Well, I've been talking about Carvana. Well, since it's high, it's now at a 98% decline. And of course, the other day it went up a little. Well, in the stock business, it's called the dead cat bounce. They say that even if you drop a dead cat, it's going to bounce a little, then go up a tiny bit, and then fall back down again, which seems to be what's happening. They went from $60 billion to $2. That's a pretty big jump down, right? Of course, it had to jump up too fast, which is what always happens in this stock market speculation crap. Everybody jumps on the bandwagon. The guy who's driving the bandwagons stuff in his pocket with money, but the people that jump on the bandwagon, maybe it doesn't work out all that well for them. Now people are actually looking into it, okay? They got very little cash on hand, but they have $6.3 billion in debt. If anybody ever followed this up like I did in the past, they would have realized it's a hot air balloon. Out of all that debt, 5.7 of the 6.3 billion is what's called senior notes, and a lot of them are turning into garbage. As of last week, their long-term bonds that the company had were traded for as little as 33 cents on the dollar. Means that, 67% of it went down the toilet. All they did was borrow money. They suckered the people into, oh, it's a great company, great idea, buy your cars from gumball machines. Sounds brilliant, right? Just keep borrowing, and they're so far in debt, it's unbelievable. So, be leery of what you invest in. Be leery if you buy a car from them, too. From my experience, they don't have a very good checkout system either. They just get them and sell them. They don't know what they've got. They just buy them, they pay too much, and then they charge too much. There's this endless cycle of greed. Eventually it stops somewhere, and it looks like for Carvana, the end is near. Their cycle of greed is falling down into the endless money pit now. They owe tons of money, and they don't have any money at hand. Nobody even looked at this stuff. They just, oh, great, they're selling cars. I love it. They don't make any money. They don't have any money in hand. There's $6.3 billion in debt. Hey, I feel sorry for the people that loan them the money because they're probably not going to see too much of it back. Larry Bird says, my start-stop system whacked out. Good morning, I got 2015 S Volvo 60. And yesterday I was driving, it turned the start-stop system off, but it wouldn't start right away. It just turned off. What could do that? Well, a lot of things can do it. It's a stupid idea to begin with stop-start, because 90-something% of the wear of your car occurs upon startup. Now, yours didn't start or start installed. There's so many things that can do it. You have to start with the basics first. Have the battery and alternator load tested, because guess what? If your car keeps starting and stopping, that strains the battery, that strains the alternator. They're going to wear out faster. Also, find a mechanic like me who knows how to load test a starter. Let's say normally you start your car 5 or 6 times a day. If you're driving in town in this, it could be hundreds of times a day that it starts and stops. It is just going to wear everything out faster. And as a side note, let me tell you this, a really bad side note. Every time it starts and stops, it's wearing the engine bearings, it's wearing the cams, it's wearing all kinds of things. So really, if you got a start-stop system, my advice is once you start it, push the button that turns that system off. Most have that. You have to do it every time you restart the car. When you shut it off, it turns itself on automatically. But find where that button is, turn it off when you're driving, make it a habit, and then the car will last longer. You won't get stranded, and you won't wear everything out like the battery, the alternator, and the starter much faster because of some stupid idea politicians thought, oh, it saves gas mileage. It doesn't save that much gas mileage, and it destroys your car over time. Bob the Hatkin says, should I use stabilizer in a car? My sister got an electric car and gave her a 2012 Camry. We probably sell it, but it's a backup car now, and she drives it maybe 2 or 3 weeks a year. I start once a month. Since it's not going to be driven, what kind of stabilizer should I use? Or is it even necessary? Drive it around a little. If you drive it as little as 15 minutes a week, that's fine. Everything will charge up, it'll run, it'll go. And what you want to do is only have about 1/4 of a tank of gas in it. Then as you drive it a little, then add it so it goes up some after you drive it a while, and then again later, months later or whatever, if it needs to, give it a little bit of gas, because that way you're adding fresh gas. The problem with gasoline today is it's mixed from all kinds of stuff, and it can't sit for 6, 9, 10 months or more. It'll come apart. It doesn't even matter if you put stabilizer in it. The stabilizers don't work all that well in modern gasoline, because modern gasoline has such a mixture of stuff, and since most of it contains 10 to 15% alcohol, that stuff will start settling out if it's not used. You're better to have 1/4 of a tank and add some every once in a while. Then it mixes it all up and you won't have the problem. I found with this ethanol in the gas that they have now 10 to 15%. The fuel stabilizers don't really work all that well. You're better to have a little bit of gas, drive it around, then put a little bit more gas so you keep adding a little bit of gas. That keeps it good. The stabilizers, they just don't work like they used to because gasoline is much more complex how it's mixed up in the additives, especially with the ethanol, which we know is alcohol. That screws the whole thing up. It can't sit for a really long time, so you just got to keep adding new stuff and drive it around a little bit more. That's what I do. Cars 2020 says, I was overcharged at the dealership. We got a 2020 young Tacoma. It was listed at 22, and with all their fees, New York taxes, and a 3,500 warranty, it was $28,000. The finance manager agreed on it. But I looked at the invoice. Now it says the price is $34,406. How did a 22K Kona drop $12,000 up like that? Are they just ripping it off? What can I do? They did rip you off. Have to read everything. Absolutely everything. Because they got sneaky little stuff all over the place. Word of mouth stuff. Now, word of mouth is legal in Texas. If a guy tells you, here's the price to charge you more, they can't. You have to prove that's what he said, though. That's why, if you ever deal with these people, put your phone on record and have it in your top pocket. You know? It's recording the whole thing, so if they lie to you, you'll have it on record, so they can't screw you over that way, right? You do have to read all the paperwork, because that's what those people do. They're just out screwing people over. Look at all the money you paid extra. A $22,000 car. And now all of a sudden, $34,000, that's 10 grand. You'd think it would be unheard of, but I see it every day from people sending me emails. It's terrible that people are like that, but you gotta read the fine print. Now, you might have to hire a lawyer, and I'll get the contract and show him to him. He can read it and tell you. You want to do it before you buy it, you did it after, but at least you'll be able to see if it was legal. Maybe they did illegal stuff. I don't know. What you signed, certain figure, then there's more money. Have a lawyer read the contract and see what he says, because a lot of these guys just pull fishy ones. If you remember years ago, it happened to a little old lady when I was in Houston. They raked her over the coal for, I believe it was like 10 to 12 grand more than what she agreed upon. And the manager said, oh, you signed it, too bad, no problem. I made the video on it. And they gave her the money back, the difference. So you never know. Get a lawyer to read that contract and see what goes on. And if you're ever around me when I'm in Rhode Island or Tennessee and it happens, bring it over. I'll make a video out of it. I guarantee you'll get your money back then, because it makes them look like the scumbags that they are. They are mainly scumbags. It's how dealerships are. They're mainly scumbags, right? But they kind of look like they aren't. So if they get bad press, they spend hundreds of millions of dollars advertising how great these car manufacturers and their dealerships are, right? Well, they don't want somebody like me telling the truth. So normally when it's that bad, they'll give that person their money back, because the squeaky wheel gets the grease and they don't want to look that bad. Millions of people watch me. They don't want them all saying, oh my God, look at these people. Then they will give. That's why Toyota gave the woman the money back. They didn't want to look bad, right? So get a lawyer at least now to read the contract and tell you what you signed, and then go from there. Sharon Flowers, Honda girl, says, Scotty, where's the overdrive button on 09 Honda automatic? It only has numbers on the shifter. Okay, those don't have overdrive buttons. It's built into the transmission. Now, for those of you who don't understand the complexity of it, overdrive just means that it's so the engine is spinning less than one revolution for every one revolution of the drive tires. You take some of these 10-speed transmissions, some of them have 3 separate overdrive gears. There's 3 of them where the engine actually turns less than a rotation for the rotation of the wheels. Back in the day, they usually had 1 overdrive gear, but now they can have many. Yours is built into the car. It's there. Don't worry about it. Honda makes pretty good transmissions. It works. You just can't play with it yourself because they just built it into the car. Originally, the overdrives were actually bolt-on. Trucks would have them, and they would have a bolt-on unit that was the overdrive gear that actually bolted to the back of the original transmission. But now they're all internal to the transmission. We don't think that FTX scandal, cryptocurrency, is the only one. It might be the tip of the iceberg, because the cryptocurrency Solana, it's collapsing now too. In the last 7 days, it's lost 61.6% of its value. And it's down 95% in 1 year. From last November to this November, it's down 95%. And guess what the problem is? Cash crunch. Yeah, they don't have the cash because it's all made up, right? There's nothing behind it. And the other big boys are all going down too. In the last week, Bitcoin's down 22.4%. Cryptocurrency Ether, it's down 24.4% the last week. And it amazes me what they tie into this stuff. It's like the giant dominoes falling down. I mean, listen to this. Solana's blockchain makes it possible to develop decentralized finance projects that offer services like loans, mortgages, financial products. All I know is I wouldn't put my money in any of these cryptocurrencies, but it looks like it's starting to come apart at the seams. So it looks like it may be the end of cryptocurrency as we knew it. It was volatile anyways. Anything that can go up and down that fast, you can't trust it. It's just greed from people. And you know what happens when you're greedy? Pigs get fatter, but hogs get slaughtered. So too much greed is a bad thing. Obviously, these people had a whole bunch of greed, and now it's disappearing. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.